Commander Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of Luna Base and looked out at the stars. 6 months had passed since the aliens left Earth's space. The Zephyrians came with 1,000 ships, thinking humans would be easy to defeat. They were wrong. Jake remembered that terrible day when the alien fleet first appeared. Their ships were massive, dark metal creatures that blocked out the sun. The Zephyrians sent a message to Earth in perfect English. They said humans had 24 hours to surrender or face complete destruction. Every person on Earth heard that cold, mechanical voice through their radios and televisions. Earth's leaders tried to talk. They offered to share resources and technology. The aliens laughed. They said humans were nothing more than smart animals who had learned to use tools. The Zephyrians wanted Earth's water and clean air. They did not want the humans who lived there. The war began when the aliens attacked Luna Base. Jake was just a captain then, working in the communications center. He watched the first alien fighters streak past the observation windows like silver bullets. Their weapons cut through the base's outer walls like they were made of paper. Alarms screamed throughout the facility as air rushed out into space. But humans fought back harder than anyone expected. The crews of Luna Base did not run or hide. They grabbed whatever weapons they could find and fought in the corridors. Engineers used mining tools to attack alien soldiers. Cooks threw boiling water at the invaders. Even the scientists picked up metal bars and hammers. Jake's friend Tony Walsh saved the base's main computer by crawling through damaged air vents while aliens searched for him below. Lisa Carter, the base's top scientist, managed to capture 3 alien soldiers alive during the fighting. She locked them in the medical bay's isolation chamber before they could poison themselves. The battle for Luna Base lasted 18 hours. When it ended, half the facility was destroyed and 200 humans were dead. But the aliens lost something they did not expect to lose: the element of surprise. More importantly, they lost some of their technology. Dr. Carter studied the captured aliens day and night. She learned that the Zephyrians were not born the way humans saw them. They were once a species much like humans, but they had replaced most of their bodies with machines. Metal plates covered their skin. Computer chips were placed inside their brains. Wires ran through their blood vessels instead of normal veins. The aliens thought this made them better than humans. They believed their metal bodies made them stronger and their computer brains made them smarter. But Dr. Carter found something interesting. All those machines inside them needed power. They needed special energy cells that only lasted a few days. Without those cells, the aliens would die. Jake learned about this discovery when Dr. Carter called him to the laboratory. She showed him one of the alien prisoners lying on a metal table. Tubes and wires covered its body. The creature's eyes glowed with a faint blue light. "Look at this," Dr. Carter said. She pointed to a small device attached to the alien's chest. "This is their power source. Every Zephyrian needs one of these to stay alive. The energy cells inside are made from a rare metal we have never seen before." Jake studied the device carefully. It was about the size of a human hand and made of smooth black metal. Strange symbols were carved into its surface. "How long do they last?" he asked. "Not long," Dr. Carter replied. "Maybe 5 or 6 days at most. After that, they need a new one, or they shut down like a broken machine." This was important information. It meant the aliens could not stay away from their ships for very long. It also meant they needed to bring lots of spare energy cells with them when they traveled far from home. General Ryan Brooks visited Luna Base 3 days later. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. The general had been put in charge of all Earth's military forces after the alien attack began. Jake had never met anyone so important before. General Brooks gathered all the surviving officers in the base's main meeting room. The room still smelled like smoke from the battle. Burn marks covered the walls where alien weapons had hit them. People of Earth are scared the general said. They want to know if the aliens will come back. They want to know if we can protect them next time. Jake looked around the room at the other officers. Their faces showed the same worry he felt inside. Everyone knew the aliens would return. The Zephyrians had not given up. They had only moved further away to plan their next attack. The aliens are not finished with us, General Brooks continued. Our spy satellites have found them near Pluto. They are building something big out there, something that will help them win the next battle. Dr. Carter stood up from her chair. General, I have been studying their technology. The aliens think they are better than us because they have machines inside their bodies. But I think that might be their weakness, not their strength. The general looked interested. Explain. They depend too much on their technology, she said. Humans can adapt and change when things go wrong. The aliens cannot. If we can find a way to stop their machines from working, we might be able to defeat them. Jake felt a small spark of hope for the first time in months. Maybe humans could win this war after all. Maybe there was something special about being human that the aliens did not understand. General Brooks nodded slowly. We have 6 months to prepare, he said. Maybe less. The aliens think they have already won this war. They think humans are too weak and stupid to fight back properly. Let us prove them wrong. The meeting ended with new orders for everyone. Engineers would work to repair Luna Base and make it stronger. Scientists would study alien technology and find ways to use it against them. Soldiers would train with new weapons and tactics. Jake received his promotion to commander that day. His new job was to oversee all the repairs and improvements to Luna Base. It was a big responsibility, but he felt ready for it. As the weeks passed, Jake watched Luna Base transform from a damaged research station into a powerful military fortress. New weapons were installed on every level. Thick metal plates covered the walls where aliens had cut through before. The communication systems were upgraded, with technology taken from captured alien equipment. But the most important change was in the people themselves. The humans who lived and worked on Luna Base were no longer just scientists and engineers. They had become warriors who would defend their home with their lives. Jake often thought about the aliens out there near Pluto, planning their next attack. They probably believed humans would be even easier to defeat the second time. They probably thought the first battle was just lucky for Earth. The Zephyrians were about to learn they had made a terrible mistake. Humans were just getting started. Captain Amy Foster gripped the controls of her ship as it moved silently through the darkness of space. 3 months had passed since the aliens settled near Pluto, and Amy was leading the most dangerous mission of her life. Her ship, the UES Defiance, was designed to be invisible to alien sensors. Today, she would find out if it really worked. Amy's team consisted of 5 people, all volunteers who knew they might not return home. Next to her sat Lieutenant Bob Taylor, the best pilot she had ever worked with. Behind them, Sergeant Kate Miller watched the sensor screens for any sign of alien ships. Dr. Kevin Ross and Specialist Dan Clark worked at computer stations, ready to record everything they found. The journey to Pluto took 12 days. Amy's ship used a new engine design based on captured alien technology, but it was still much slower than Zephyrian vessels. During the long trip, the crew studied everything they knew about the enemy. They memorized alien ship designs, weapon capabilities, and communication frequencies. Dr. Ross was especially interested in the aliens themselves. He had spent months studying the prisoners at Luna Base, learning about their biology and weaknesses. The Zephyrians think their machine parts make them perfect, he told Amy during one of their planning sessions. But every machine has a breaking point. When they finally reached Pluto's orbit, Amy could hardly believe what she saw. The aliens had built a massive structure on the planet's surface. It looked like a giant metal spider with hundreds of thin legs reaching up toward space. Ships moved constantly between the structure and orbital platforms that floated above the planet like deadly flowers. "Count them," Amy whispered to Sergeant Miller. Miller's fingers moved quickly across her screen. "I see at least 400 ships," she said quietly. "Maybe more hidden behind the planet." Amy felt her stomach tighten. Earth's entire military had fewer than 50 working spacecraft. How could they possibly fight against such numbers? Lieutenant Taylor guided their ship closer to the alien construction. They hid behind chunks of ice and rock that floated around Pluto, moving carefully from one hiding spot to the next. The alien ships paid no attention to the small debris around their base. Dr. Ross activated his recording equipment and began analyzing the massive structure on Pluto's surface. His computer translated the alien symbols they could see on the building's exterior. What he discovered made everyone on the ship feel cold with fear. "It's a weapon," Dr. Ross said, his voice barely above a whisper. "A planet killer. According to these readings, it can strip away a world's atmosphere in less than an hour." Amy stared at the structure through their ship's main viewer. The aliens were not just planning to invade Earth again. They were planning to destroy everything that made Earth suitable for human life. After that, they could reshape the planet however they wanted. Specialist Clark intercepted alien communications while they watched. Most of the messages were routine reports about construction progress and supply deliveries. But one transmission made everyone stop what they were doing. The message came from the leader of the Zephyrian fleet. His mechanical voice spoke about cleansing the third planet and preparing new breeding grounds. The aliens did not even use Earth's name when they talked about destroying it. Amy made the decision to get closer to the weapon. She knew it was dangerous, but Earth needed detailed information about how the device worked. If human scientists could understand the alien technology, maybe they could find a way to stop it. Lieutenant Taylor flew their ship through a field of ice chunks, using them as cover. They moved so slowly that it took 2 hours to travel just a few miles. Finally, they reached a position where Dr. Ross could scan the weapon with his most powerful instruments. What he found was both terrifying and hopeful. The weapon was incredibly complex, requiring enormous amounts of power to function. It drew energy from Pluto's core using massive drills that went deep into the planet. But the most important discovery was that the weapon had a weakness. It needed perfect coordination between thousands of different parts to work properly. If even a few key components were damaged, the entire system would shut down. "It's like a giant clock," Dr. Ross explained to the others. "Every gear has to turn at exactly the right speed. If we can break just a few important gears, the whole thing stops working." Amy felt hope growing in her chest. Humans might not be able to destroy the weapon completely, but maybe they could damage it enough to make it useless. Their mission almost ended in disaster when an alien patrol ship came too close to their hiding place. Amy held her breath as the enemy vessel passed within a few hundred yards of their position. The alien ship's sensors swept back and forth, searching for any sign of intruders. For 10 long minutes, Amy's crew sat perfectly still and waited. Finally, the patrol ship moved away, apparently satisfied that nothing was hiding among the ice chunks. After gathering all the information they could, Amy ordered her team to begin the long journey home. They had been near Pluto for 8 hours, and every minute increased their chances of being discovered. The trip back to Earth seemed even longer than the journey out. Everyone on the ship knew they carried information that could save their world or doom it. If the aliens discovered their mission, the enemy would know that humans were watching them. Meanwhile, back on Earth, amazing things were happening. Tony Walsh had been working day and night in a secret laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. His team of engineers had successfully combined alien technology with human creativity to build something completely new. The Prometheus drive was unlike anything humans had ever created before. It used principles copied from Zephyrian engines, but human engineers had found ways to improve the design. The new drive could push a spacecraft faster than any alien ship they had captured, but speed was not the only advantage. The Prometheus drive was also more flexible than alien engines. Human pilots could change direction quickly, accelerate and decelerate rapidly, and perform maneuvers that would be impossible with traditional rocket technology. Tony tested the first Prometheus drive on a small fighter craft in Earth orbit. The test pilot, Colonel Nina Bell, pushed the new engine to its limits. She flew circles around the orbital testing platform, performing loops and turns that defied everything humans thought they knew about spaceflight. "It responds like a dream," Colonel Bell reported over the radio. "I can make this thing dance through space like a butterfly." General Brooks watched the test from the control center on Earth's surface. He smiled as he saw the little fighter ship perform maneuvers that no human spacecraft had ever achieved before. For the first time since the war began, he felt confident that humans could win. Dr. Lisa Carter made her own breakthrough during this same period. Working with tissue samples from the alien prisoners, she discovered exactly how their enhancements functioned. The machine parts inside Zephyrian bodies were connected to their nervous systems through microscopic wires. Those wires carried electrical signals that controlled everything from movement to thought processes. But Dr. Carter found that the wires were vulnerable to specific types of electromagnetic interference. If humans could generate the right kind of electrical field, they could disrupt the aliens' cybernetic systems. This led to the development of new ammunition for human weapons. The bullets contained tiny devices that generated electromagnetic pulses when they hit their targets. A single shot from these special rounds could shut down an alien soldier's cybernetic enhancements, leaving them helpless. Dr. Kevin Ross returned from his mission to Pluto with information that changed everything. The data he collected about the alien weapon was immediately shared with scientists around the world. Within days, every major research facility on Earth was working on ways to counter the threat. The most important discovery was that the weapon required a clear line of sight to its target. It could not fire through planets or large asteroids. This meant that if humans could position objects between the weapon and Earth, they might be able to block its deadly beam. Amy Foster found herself promoted to Major and given command of a new squadron of stealth ships. Her successful mission to Pluto had proven that humans could spy on the aliens without being detected. Now she would train other pilots to perform similar reconnaissance missions. As the months passed, humans worked frantically to prepare for the coming battle. Factories that once built cars and computers now produced spacecraft and weapons. Millions of people volunteered to help with the war effort, working in shifts around the clock. The aliens, meanwhile, remained confident in their superiority. They continued building their planet-killing weapon and adding ships to their fleet. They intercepted some human communications and dismissed them as the desperate struggles of a primitive species. The Zephyrians had no idea that humans were not just preparing to defend themselves. They were preparing to attack. Maria Santos pulled her maintenance coveralls tighter as she walked through the corridors of the transport ship. To anyone watching, she looked like just another worker heading to fix broken equipment. But Maria was actually an intelligence officer on the most dangerous mission of her career. Her ship, disguised as a civilian cargo hauler, had spent 2 weeks traveling to the outer edges of the solar system. The aliens paid little attention to human supply ships. They thought humans were too scared to venture far from Earth. They were wrong. Maria's job was to get close, enough to the alien fleet to plant listening devices and gather information about their plans. She carried 12 tiny spy drones hidden inside her toolkit. Each drone was no bigger than a coin and could record conversations from miles away. The transport ship's captain, an old man named Joe Parker, had volunteered for this mission, even though he knew it might be his last. Joe had been flying cargo ships for 30 years, and he knew how to make his vessel look slow and harmless. The aliens would never suspect that his rusty old ship carried one of Earth's best spies. As they approached the alien fleet near Jupiter, Maria watched through the ship's sensors. The Zephyrians had spread their ships across a huge area of space. Some vessels were as large as cities, with thousands of smaller fighters attached to their hulls like metal insects. Joe guided his ship toward a group of alien supply vessels. These ships looked less threatening than the warships, but Maria knew they were just as dangerous. The aliens on board would kill any human they found without a second thought. "Remember," Joe whispered, as Maria prepared to leave the ship in a small maintenance pod, "you have exactly 4 hours. After that, I start heading home whether you're back or not." Maria nodded. She understood the plan. If she was captured, Joe would escape and warn Earth about whatever she had learned. The safety of billions of people was more important than one spy's life. The maintenance pod was designed to look like space junk. Its hull was covered with fake damage and radiation scoring. As Maria drifted toward the alien ships, she moved, her pod slowly and randomly, like a piece of debris caught in the gravitational pull of the gas giant below. Her first target was a Zephyrian communication relay. The device floated between 2 large ships, transmitting messages throughout the alien fleet. Maria attached one of her spy drones to the relay's exterior hull. The tiny device immediately began recording every message that passed through the system. Over the next 3 hours, Maria planted 11 more drones on different alien vessels. She learned to recognize the different types of ships and their purposes. The largest vessels were mobile factories that built weapons and equipment. Medium-sized ships housed the alien soldiers and their cybernetic enhancement facilities. The smallest craft were fighters and scouts. But the most important discovery came from listening to alien communications. The Zephyrians were arguing among themselves about something called the timetable. Some wanted to attack Earth immediately, while others insisted they needed more time to complete their preparations. Maria's translator device worked frantically to convert the alien language into English. What she heard made her blood run cold. The aliens were not just planning to destroy Earth's atmosphere. They were planning to harvest every human on the planet for biological experiments before the final attack. According to their conversations, human bodies would provide valuable information about biological adaptability. The Zephyrians wanted to understand how humans could survive and fight without cybernetic enhancements. They thought this knowledge might help them create better machine parts for themselves. Maria returned to Joe's ship just as her 4 hours expired. As they began their journey back to Earth, she transmitted her findings using a coded signal that looked like normal engine telemetry. The aliens monitoring human communications would think they were just seeing routine maintenance data. On Earth, Admiral Peter Hayes was preparing for the greatest challenge of his military career. He had been chosen to command the Solar Defense Fleet, a collection of ships that represented humanity's last hope for survival. The fleet included vessels of every type humans could build or convert. There were military destroyers equipped with the new Prometheus drives, civilian cargo ships modified to carry weapons, and even old space stations that had been turned into mobile gun platforms. Admiral Hayes studied the reports from Maria Santos and felt a mixture of fear and determination. The alien fleet was massive, but it was also spread out across a huge area of space. If human forces could strike quickly and coordinate their attacks, they might be able to defeat the aliens in detail rather than facing them all at once. Dr. Lisa Carter continued her research on Zephyrian biology, working with samples from the prisoners at Luna Base. Her latest experiments had revealed something extraordinary about alien psychology. The Zephyrians were not just physically dependent on their machines, they were mentally dependent as well. The computer chips in their brains did more than just process information faster. They also controlled emotions and decision-making processes. This made the aliens very logical and efficient, but it also made them predictable. They always chose the most mathematically optimal solution to any problem. Dr. Carter realized that this predictability could be used against them. If humans could force the aliens into situations where there was no optimal choice, their computer-enhanced minds might freeze up or make mistakes. She shared this discovery with military planners, who began developing tactics specifically designed to confuse alien thinking patterns. Instead of attacking in straight lines or logical formations, human forces would use random movements and seemingly irrational strategies. Tony Walsh finished his work on the Ragnarok Protocol during this same period. The project had started as a simple idea. If humans could not build enough warships to fight the aliens, maybe they could turn their peaceful space infrastructure into weapons. The asteroid mining stations scattered throughout the solar system became the foundation of Tony's plan. These facilities used powerful magnetic accelerators to launch chunks of processed metal toward Earth and other planets. With some modifications, those same accelerators could launch projectiles at alien ships with devastating effect. Tony's team worked around the clock to convert 12 mining stations into kinetic bombardment platforms. Each station could fire metal slugs the size of telephone poles at speeds approaching 10% of light speed. At those velocities, even a small projectile could punch through the hull of an alien warship. The beauty of the Ragnarok Protocol was that the aliens would never see it coming. The mining stations looked harmless, and their magnetic accelerators appeared to be normal industrial equipment. By the time the Zephyrians realized what was happening, it would be too late to defend themselves. Colonel Nina Bell trained the first squadron of Phoenix fighter pilots at a secret base on the moon's far side. The new fighters combined alien shielding technology with human weapons and tactics, creating spacecraft unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Phoenix fighters were small and fast, designed to get close to enemy ships and attack their weak points. Each fighter carried electromagnetic pulse weapons that could disable alien cybernetic systems, along with conventional missiles for destroying ship components. But the most important feature of the Phoenix fighters was their pilots. Colonel Bell had chosen her squadron members for their creativity and adaptability, rather than just their flying skills. These pilots could think on their feet and improvise solutions when their original plans failed. During training exercises, the Phoenix pilots practiced maneuvers that would have been impossible with old-fashioned rocket engines. They could stop in mid-flight, reverse direction instantly, and fly complex spiral patterns that confused targeting systems. The Prometheus drives made their fighters dance through space like hummingbirds. Dr. Kevin Ross completed his analysis of Zephyrian computer systems using data collected from spy drones and captured equipment. He discovered that the aliens used a centralized command structure that relied heavily on constant communication between ships. This communication network was the aliens' greatest strength and their greatest weakness. It allowed them to coordinate complex operations involving thousands of ships, but it also created a single point of failure. If humans could disrupt the network, the entire alien fleet might become confused and disorganized. Ross developed a computer virus specifically designed to attack Zephyrian communication systems. The virus would spread through their network like a disease, corrupting data and creating false messages. With luck, it might even cause some alien ships to attack each other by mistake. General Ryan Brooks received daily updates from all these different projects. As the pieces of humanity's defense plan came together, he felt a growing sense of confidence. The aliens still had superior numbers and technology, but humans had something the Zephyrians lacked: the ability to think outside the box. The general knew that the coming battle would determine the fate of the human species. If Earth's forces failed, there would be no second chance. But if they succeeded, they would prove that humans deserved their place among the stars. Intelligence reports suggested that the aliens would begin their final attack within weeks. Their planet-killing weapon was nearly complete. and their fleet had finished gathering supplies and reinforcements. The Zephyrians believed they had given humans enough time to realize the hopelessness of their situation. They could not have been more wrong. As the days passed, human preparations reached a fever pitch. Every person on Earth understood that they were about to witness the most important battle in the history of their species. Civilians volunteered to help with last-minute construction projects. Children wrote letters to the soldiers who would soon fight for their future. But perhaps the most important preparation was happening in the hearts and minds of the human defenders themselves. They were no longer just fighting to survive. They were fighting to prove that humanity would never bow down to any enemy, no matter how powerful. The Zephyrians had made a fatal error when they decided to rest and gather their strength. They had given humans time to adapt, to learn, and to prepare. Now Earth's fury was about to be unleashed upon them in ways they could never have imagined. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution as the human fleet moved toward its destiny. 200 ships of every size and design followed his flagship through the darkness between worlds. Behind them, Earth grew smaller until it was just another point of light among the stars. The journey to Pluto would take 5 days. Even with the new Prometheus drives pushing the fleet to unprecedented speeds, Jake used that time to review the battle plan one final time. Every ship captain had memorized their role, but Jake knew that no plan survived contact with the enemy unchanged. Admiral Peter Hayes commanded the fleet from his position aboard the massive carrier U.S. Freedom. The converted space station carried 50 Phoenix fighters in its armored launch bays. Next to it flew the heavy cruiser U.S. Vengeance. Bristling with weapons that combined human engineering with captured alien technology, Captain Amy Foster led the stealth squadron in her ship, UES Defiance. Her job was to penetrate the alien fleet's outer defenses and provide targeting data for the main attack. The 12 ships under her command were painted black and equipped with sensor dampening fields that made them nearly invisible. Dr. Kevin Ross monitored his computer virus from the fleet's communication center. The malicious program was ready to be transmitted into the alien network as soon as human ships came within range. Ross had spent months perfecting the code, ensuring it would spread quickly through Zephyrian systems while remaining undetected, until it was too late. On the 3rd day of their journey, long-range sensors detected the alien fleet. The Zephyrians had positioned their ships in a defensive sphere around Pluto, with their largest vessels forming an outer shell and smaller craft patrolling the spaces between. At the center of the formation, the planet-killing weapon continued its final preparations. Jake studied the enemy positions and felt his heart sink. The alien fleet was even larger than intelligence reports had suggested. Over 600 ships of various sizes waited in perfect formation, their weapons trained on the approaching human force. "They know we're coming," reported Lieutenant Colonel Nina Bell from our fighter squadron. "No attempt at concealment or surprise positioning. They want us to see exactly what we're up against." Admiral Hayes's voice crackled over the communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Hayes. The enemy expects us to be afraid of their numbers. They expect us to turn around and run home to Earth. Let's show them what humans do when someone threatens our families." The human fleet continued its approach, maintaining radio silence except for essential tactical communications. Jake could feel the tension building among his crew as they drew closer to the alien positions. Everyone knew that the next few hours would determine whether humanity survived or perished. Captain Foster's stealth squadron reached the outer edge of the alien fleet first. Her ships slipped between the massive Zephyrian vessels like shadows, planting sensor beacons and preparing for the coordinated attack that would follow. The aliens detected the main human fleet when it was still 2 hours away from their positions. Zephyrian commanders transmitted the standard demand for surrender, offering humans a quick death if they stopped their advance immediately. Admiral Hayes responded with a single word: "Broadcast on all frequencies, never." The battle began when Dr. Ross activated his computer virus. The malicious program spread through the alien communication network in seconds, corrupting data streams and creating false orders. Several Zephyrian patrol ships immediately changed course and began moving away from their assigned positions. Jake watched the alien formation start to develop gaps as confused ships tried to verify their orders. The virus was working better than anyone had hoped, but it would not keep the aliens confused for long. Human forces had perhaps 10 minutes before the Zephyrians regained full coordination. Colonel Bell launched her Phoenix fighters from the U.S. Freedom's launch base. The small craft accelerated toward the alien fleet like a swarm of angry insects, their Prometheus drives allowing them to perform maneuvers that defied traditional physics. The Zephyrian fighters moved to intercept, but they were not prepared for the incredible agility of the human craft. Colonel Bell's pilots used their superior maneuverability to dart between alien ships, striking at weapon systems and communication arrays with surgical precision. Jake ordered the UES Retribution to target the nearest alien command ship. The vessel was 3 times larger than his flagship, covered in weapons and protected by energy shields that could deflect conventional human weapons. But the Retribution's main guns now fired shells, tipped with electromagnetic pulse warheads designed specifically to disrupt alien technology. The first salvo struck the alien ship's shields and exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The energy barriers flickered and failed as the pulse weapons overwhelmed their control systems. Jake's second salvo punched through the unprotected hull, sending chunks of alien metal spinning into space throughout the battle zone. Human ships engaged their alien counterparts with tactics the Zephyrians had never encountered. Instead of maintaining formation and exchanging long-range fire, human vessels used their Prometheus drives to dart in close, strike at weak points, and retreat before the aliens could respond effectively. Sergeant Carl Murphy led the first boarding action of the battle when his Marine squad penetrated a damaged alien cruiser. The Zephyrians inside fought with mechanical precision, but they were not prepared for the electromagnetic pulse grenades that Murphy's troops carried. The special weapons disrupted the aliens' cybernetic enhancements, leaving them stumbling and confused as their computer-enhanced reflexes failed. Murphy's Marines moved through the ship systematically, using Dr. Ross's research to target the most vulnerable components of aliens. Technology. Captain Foster's stealth squadron struck at the alien fleet's communication relays, cutting the connections between different ship groups without their centralized command structure. Individual Zephyrian vessels began making tactical errors as they tried to coordinate their own local responses, but the aliens were far from defeated. Their numerical advantage was still overwhelming, and their largest ships possessed weapons capable of destroying entire human squadrons with single shots. The battle quickly became a desperate race between human ingenuity and alien firepower. Tony Walsh watched the battle from his control center on Earth, waiting for the right moment to activate the Ragnarok protocol. The converted asteroid mining stations were positioned throughout the solar system, their magnetic accelerators aimed at predetermined coordinates where the alien fleet was expected to be. When Captain Foster transmitted the final targeting data, Tony initiated the protocol. 12 mining stations fired simultaneously, launching metal projectiles at incredible velocities toward the alien positions near Pluto. The kinetic bombardment would take several hours to reach its targets, but when it arrived, the results would be devastating. Each projectile carried enough energy to punch completely through an alien capital ship, possibly damaging multiple vessels if they were positioned correctly. Admiral Hayes coordinated the human attack from his command center, using real-time data from the stealth squadron to direct his ships toward the most valuable targets. The converted cargo vessels in his fleet might look harmless, but they carried enough firepower to threaten even the largest alien ships. The UES Commerce, a former merchant vessel, demonstrated this when it engaged an alien battleship twice its size. The cargo ship's modified hull concealed dozens of missile launchers that erupted in coordinated salvos, overwhelming the alien vessel's defensive systems through sheer volume of fire. Dr. Ross's computer virus continued to spread chaos through the alien fleet. Some Zephyrian ships received orders to attack their own allies, while others were told to retreat to positions that would leave them vulnerable to human attack. The aliens' reliance on computer-controlled coordination had become a critical weakness, but the Zephyrians began to adapt to human tactics as the battle progressed. Their artificial intelligence systems learned from each encounter, adjusting their responses to counter human unpredictability. The aliens started using simpler communication methods that were less vulnerable to electronic warfare. Jake realized that the battle was reaching a critical turning point when alien reinforcements began arriving from their reserve positions. Fresh Zephyrian ships with undamaged systems entered the fight, while many human vessels were running low on ammunition and showing signs of battle damage. The planet-killing weapon remained protected at the center of the alien formation, surrounded by their most powerful warships. Jake knew that destroying the superweapon was the key to victory, but reaching it would require sacrifices that might doom the human fleet. Colonel Bell's fighter squadron had been reduced to half its original strength, but the surviving pilots continued their relentless attacks on alien support vessels. Their electromagnetic pulse weapons proved especially effective against the smaller Zephyrian craft, which relied heavily on automated systems. Captain Foster's stealth ships began targeting the alien fleet's fuel and ammunition supplies. Without warning, several Zephyrian vessels exploded in brilliant fireballs as their stockpiled energy cells were detonated by precisely placed human charges. The first wave of kinetic projectiles from the Ragnarok Protocol began arriving at the battle zone. The metal slugs, accelerated to incredible speeds, struck alien ships with the force of small nuclear weapons. 3 Zephyrian capital ships were destroyed instantly, while several others suffered critical damage. The aliens finally realized that humans had turned their peaceful mining equipment into long-range artillery. Zephyrian commanders began moving their ships erratically, trying to avoid the predetermined targeting zones. But Tony Walsh had anticipated this response and programmed multiple firing solutions into his system. As the battle raged on, both sides suffered heavy losses, but something unexpected was happening in the hearts and minds of the human defenders. Instead of becoming demoralized by their casualties, they fought with increasing determination and creativity. The Zephyrians had expected humans to break under pressure, to make mistakes when faced with overwhelming odds. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to grow stronger and more dangerous with each passing hour. Jake Morrison watched another alien ship explode under the combined fire of 3 human vessels and felt a strange mixture of pride and sorrow. Humanity was proving itself capable of standing against any enemy, but the cost in lives and ships was enormous. The battle for humanity's survival was far from over, but one thing had already become clear. The Zephyrians had awakened something in humans that they did not understand and could not defeat through technology alone. The alien fleet was breaking apart. Commander Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the UES Retribution as Zephyrian ships scattered in all directions, their perfect formations destroyed by human tactics they had never encountered before. The planet-killing weapon sat exposed at the center of the chaos, its protective screen of warships either destroyed or fleeing toward the outer system. Jake could see the massive structure on Pluto's surface, still powering up for its final attack on Earth. Stopping that weapon was now the only thing that mattered. Admiral Peter Hayes broadcast orders to all remaining human ships. All vessels, concentrate fire on the superweapon. Ignore the fleeing ships. We end this now. The surviving human fleet, reduced to less than half its original size, turned toward Pluto with grim determination. Every captain knew that many of them would not survive the final assault, But they also knew that failure meant the death of everyone on Earth. Captain Amy Foster's stealth squadron had suffered heavy losses, but her remaining ships still moved unseen through the wreckage of the battle. She positioned her vessels around the alien weapon, ready to guide the final attack with precision targeting data. Dr. Kevin Ross's computer virus had done its job too well. The alien communication network was so corrupted that many ships could no longer coordinate with each other. Some vessels continued fighting human forces, while others retreated in random directions. A few had even begun attacking other alien ships, unable to distinguish friend from enemy through their damaged sensors. Colonel Nina Bell led her surviving Phoenix fighters in a desperate charge against the weapon's defensive systems. The Super Weapon was protected by automated gun turrets that tracked and fired at anything that came too close. Bell's pilots used their incredible maneuverability to dart between the energy beams, striking at the turrets with electromagnetic pulse weapons, one by one. The defensive guns fell silent as their control systems were disrupted, but the cost was terrible. Bell watched as pilot after pilot was caught by the alien weapons, their fighters disappearing in brief flashes of light. By the time the last turret was destroyed, only 8 Phoenix fighters remained from the original 50. Tony Walsh continued firing kinetic projectiles from his converted mining stations, but the remaining alien ships had learned to avoid his predetermined target zones. He adjusted his aim continuously, trying to anticipate where the enemy vessels would move next. Several more hits were scored, but the rate of successful strikes was declining. Sergeant Carl Murphy found himself leading a boarding party aboard one of the alien command ships. His Marines had fought their way through corridors filled with Zephyrian soldiers, using their electromagnetic pulse weapons to disable the aliens. Cybernetic enhancements. Murphy discovered something important in the ship's command center. The aliens had a manual override system for their planet-killing weapon, designed to be used if their normal communication networks failed. If the Zephyrians activated this backup system, they could still fire the super weapon, even with their fleet in chaos. Murphy transmitted this information to Admiral Hayes, just as alien reinforcements cornered his squad in the command center. The Marines fought desperately to hold their position, while human forces raced to destroy the weapon before the backup systems could be activated. The UES Retribution led the final assault on the super weapon, diving toward Pluto's surface, while dozens of alien ships tried to intercept it. Jake Morrison felt his ship shudder under enemy fire as the Retribution's shields overloaded and failed. But the other human vessels followed close behind, drawing alien fire away from Jake's flagship. The converted cargo ship UES Commerce exploded in a brilliant fireball as it absorbed a direct hit meant for the Retribution. The sacrifice bought Jake the precious seconds he needed to reach his target. The Retribution's main guns opened fire on the alien weapon at point-blank range. The electromagnetic pulse warheads struck the massive structure's control systems, sending cascades of sparks and electrical failures through its delicate machinery. Other human ships joined the bombardment, pouring everything they had into the usurpation. The UES Freedom launched its remaining fighters directly at the structure's power core. The small craft penetrated deep into the weapon's interior before detonating their warheads in suicide attacks. Dr. Lisa Carter watched the battle from Earth, analyzing the real-time data transmitted by the human fleet. Her expertise in alien technology told her that the weapon was taking critical damage, but she could also see that it was still trying to fire. The super weapon's power levels fluctuated wildly as its damaged systems struggled to maintain function. If it managed to fire even once, the energy beam would strip away Earth's atmosphere and kill every living thing on the planet's surface. Captain Foster made the decision that saved humanity. Her stealth ship UES Defiance was the closest vessel to the weapon's main power coupling, a massive conduit that channeled energy from Pluto's core to the firing mechanism. Foster set her ship on a collision course with the power coupling and activated her vessel's self-destruct system. The resulting explosion severed the connection between the weapon and its power source, just as the firing sequence began. The alien superweapon died with a whimper rather than a roar. Its massive structure went dark as the power flow stopped, leaving it as nothing more than an expensive piece of metal sculpture on Pluto's frozen surface. Admiral Hayes felt a moment of overwhelming relief as he watched the weapon's energy readings drop to zero. Humanity had won its first major victory against the Zephyrians, but the cost had been enormous. Less than 60 human ships remained from the original fleet of 200. The surviving alien vessels continued their retreat toward the outer edges of the solar system. Some tried to regroup and mount counterattacks, but their command structure was too damaged to coordinate effective resistance. General Ryan Brooks coordinated the pursuit from his command center on Earth. Human forces hunted down the fleeing aliens systematically, using their superior speed and maneuverability to track down ships that tried to hide among the asteroids and outer planets. The campaign to eliminate the alien presence took 3 months. Human ships found Zephyrian bases on Jupiter's moons, hidden supply depots in the asteroid belt, and communication relays scattered throughout the solar system. Every trace of the alien invasion was methodically destroyed. Dr. Ross's analysis of captured alien databases revealed the locations of Zephyrian staging areas in nearby star systems. The aliens had established supply bases within 20 light-years of Earth, preparing for what they thought would be a quick and easy conquest. This intelligence became the foundation for humanity's next decision. Rather than simply celebrating their defensive victory, Earth's leaders chose to take the war to the aliens before they could mount another invasion. The first interstellar warships began construction within weeks of the battle's end. These vessels incorporated everything humans had learned about alien technology, combined with their own innovations in weapons and propulsion systems. Admiral Hayes addressed the United Governments of Earth from the bridge of the new flagship UES Defiant, named in honor of Captain Foster's sacrifice. Behind him, the shipyards of Luna Base worked around the clock to build humanity's first offensive fleet. The Zephyrians came to our home believing we were weak, Admiral Hayes said. They thought our diversity made us vulnerable and our emotions made us ineffective. They learned too late that our differences give us strength and our feelings give us the will to fight for what we believe in. The alien prisoners at Luna Base were interrogated extensively about their home worlds and military capabilities. Dr. Carter's research revealed that the Zephyrians controlled a small empire of conquered species, all of whom had been forced to undergo cybernetic enhancement or face extinction. This knowledge changed humanity's mission from simple revenge to something far more important: liberation. The human fleet would not just attack Zephyrian military targets, they would free the enslaved species and offer them the chance to regain their independence. Jake Morrison found himself promoted to admiral and given command of the 1st Expeditionary Force. His fleet consisted of 50 ships equipped with improved Prometheus drives and weapons designed specifically for fighting Zephyrian technology. The new human warships were marvels of engineering that combined alien science with human creativity. They could outrun, outmaneuver, and outfight anything in the Zephyrian arsenal. More importantly, they were crewed by humans who understood that they were fighting for the freedom of entire worlds. Colonel Bell, now promoted to general, established training programs for thousands of new fighter pilots. The Phoenix fighters had proven their worth in battle, and mass production of the advanced craft was already underway. Tony Walsh's Ragnarok protocol was expanded to include mobile platforms that could be deployed anywhere in space. Human forces would never again be limited to fighting purely defensive battles. The departure of the 1st Expeditionary Force was broadcast throughout Earth's solar system. Billions of people watched as Admiral Morrison's fleet activated their Prometheus drives and disappeared into the vast darkness between stars. The message they carried was simple but powerful. Humanity would no longer wait for threats to come to them. They would seek out their enemies and destroy them before they could threaten innocent lives. Dr. Carter's final report on the war concluded with a profound observation about the difference between humans and Zephyrians. The aliens had sought perfection through technology, replacing their natural abilities with artificial enhancements. But humans had achieved something far more valuable. They had learned to combine their technology with their natural strengths, rather than replacing them. The Zephyrians had rested after their first defeat, confident that their superior technology would eventually triumph. They had given humanity time to adapt, to learn, and to prepare for war. It was the last mistake the alien empire would ever make, as Admiral Morrison's fleet traveled toward the first Zephyrian world. Earth's shipyards continued building more vessels for future expeditions. The war was far from over, but humanity had proven something important to itself and to the galaxy. They would never surrender, never give up, and never stop fighting for their freedom. The enemy had rested, thinking Earth was defeated. Instead, they had awakened a fury that would burn across the stars until every enslaved world was free, and every tyrant was brought to justice. Earth's children were coming, and they were not in a forgiving mood.